Hello, welcome back to another Tabletop Talk. I have an unboxing, as you can see. Due to some circumstances beyond my control, this will probably be the last unboxing for a little while. But those of you who have been following the channel know that the last year I have made some pretty good purchases, have a lot of really cool games and seasons, and so going forward, they probably will be a bit more playing and less opening, but it's been a good journey. Experimented, got some really good games, learned a bit more about what I like to do, what I don't like to do, and some of these things are a bit of an investment. Most of the time, you can at least get half of your money back if needed. Assuming there's not some major collapse of some kind, and at that point, it wouldn't matter either anyway. So at any rate, I was going to do this here and show you what we got. So those of you who follow the channel very closely probably have a real good idea of what this is based on my past history. And again, I'll probably put it in the, I don't know, I'll let this one be a surprise. So get this out of here. So there you can get a real good idea of what we got here. So what we got is 1965 football cards, which will have the AFL in it, and 1958 football cards. So a couple reasons why I got these seasons was the cost. As you can see, there's fewer cards with the 58 set, so it was just $50. And then this one, I think, was 90. So right now, 67, anything from, or 68 rather, anything from 68 through, the 2000s is 122 a set. And so I got me a couple seasons that in football lore, as you know, I just picked up the game, and with it, I got the 1981 season. So a lot of other seasons I would like to have. 1968 with the Jets sounds very intriguing. I would like that. A lot of the 70s are cool. I'd like 1970. That was the first year that the AFL and the NFL merged, and I would have liked that one, but that one is not an option. But again, all that will have to be for the future. So I have been playing quite a bit of the 81 season, and you all know about the Bengals game where the Bengals end up beating the Seahawks, and then I'm also playing opening day, San Francisco at Detroit, and then I probably will play San Diego, their first game, whoever they play. They have a really cool team, and so I'd like to play that. Maybe Washington, and I think Washington and Dallas plays opening day in 81. So anyway, been playing a lot of that, so I wanted to pick up a couple extra seasons, and these are the two I picked up. One thing these two seasons have in common is Jim Brown, 58 and 57, I think, was his rookie season. Let me just verify this. Let's see, I got my handy dandy football reference. So yeah, 57 was his rookie season, and 58 he kind of broke loose and had a heck of a year. And then 65 was his last year, and he had another heck of a year. He had 1,527 yards in 58, and then his last year in 65, he had 1,544 yards. So he just was a little bit like Babe Ruth in that what he was doing, nobody else in the league was doing at the time. And like Babe Ruth, his home runs, he had more home runs than a lot of teams had. And when I was looking at a few seasons of Brown compared to other rushers, he was kind of the same way. So let's look at 58 here, just real quick before we open this up. So 58 leaders. Rushing yards. Yeah, so Jim Brown had 1,527 yards, and the next guy in Baltimore was Alan Amekchi. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that right, but he only had 791 yards. So you can see Jim Brown more than doubled what the second guy had, which is pretty amazing. So, again, those are Babe Ruth-type numbers. He had 17 touchdowns. Tommy Wilson for the Rams had 9. So he just about doubled the next guy in touchdowns. So 127 yards a game. So the next guy was Alan Amechi for Baltimore. He had 65 yards a game. So, again, Jim Brown was one of those guys. It looks like that, like Babe Ruth, was very special. And so he is, again, 58. Was his second year, and when he really became Jim Brown. 65 was his last year, and so got some Jim Brown going on here. So 58, there was no AFL yet, as you can see, because there's not as many cards, and looks like the NFL championship was the Colts versus the Giants. The Colts ended up winning 23-17 that year. The Giants were 9-3. The Browns were 9-3. So as a result, they had a division game in which the Giants won 10-0. Other notables: the Bears were 8-4. The Rams were 8-4. The Steelers were 7-4. Packers came in at a lowly 1-10. So that was before their heyday in the '60s. So anyway, let's open them up and look at them a little bit here. Seeing this is my last unboxing probably for a little bit, I thought we would savor it a little bit. Of course, one thing I love about ATBA is, number one, the cards are pre-cut. I hate tearing out cards. Again, it's not the worst thing that you could do, but I just never have enjoyed that with Strat. They're organized by team, and they're even in alphabetical order. So that makes it very, very nice. So, and they just something about, again, I'm a Strat guy, new to the ATBA game, but I can see a lot of the allure. The cards are just classic. They just something about those cards, and a brand new, fresh, clean, white box of cards is pretty exciting. So for a new guy to the ATBA game, I can see the allure. So there's the NFL in 1958. Hey, there's our man. We were just talking about him, the horse, Amechi. So he's the second best running back. So let's see. We got Baltimore. So again, the Colts were 9-3, and they were the champions. So I'm pretty sure Unitas was the thing. Yep, there he is, Johnny Unitas, 4 quarterback. So I don't know. I have played a little 1957 in second season, which is probably still my favorite football game. But there's something that I really enjoy about ATBA. So Amechi is a 5, which is very good. Raymond Berry, I've heard of him. He's a 5. He can play wide receiver or tight end. And again, at 58, they had a lot of the three running backs. Let's see. This guy is okay. So you got a guy who's a center on offense and a defensive end on defense. Had some players who played both ways. So we got Ray Brown, who was their main punter and their strong safety, a 4 safety. John Jack Call, Milt Davis, 4 cornerback. Arthur Donovan, 5 tackle. So again, you got to be good to get a 5. And them being the NFL champions, you wouldn't be surprised that they had some 5s. Eugene Lipscomb, a 5 at tackle, and also a 4 at middle linebacker, and a 4E. That'd be end. So you don't. I know in the '81 season, I didn't see anybody that could play the line or linebacker, but Mr. Lipscomb can. Gino Marchetti, who is a 3 offensive tackle and a 5 defensive end. So that'll be interesting about the Cards. I guess, again, you don't use the linemen too much. So Leonard Spatsmore is a 5 EB and a 5 halfback. So he's probably one of those guys like Frank Gifford was, where he was, kind of out of the backfield, but also caught a few passes. He's an A7. So the A obviously means he's a good one, and 7 means they threw to him a lot. I don't remember seeing anybody with a higher than 7. So if you do the finder on the, as I understand it, if you do the finder on the master game, that 7's pretty high. So he must have caught a lot of passes. So this guy is KAKO. Interestingly, I guess if it doesn't say anything that you use the kicking column, normally K, at least in the 81 set, KO would have like a P next to it, and the KA would have a K. So I guess if it doesn't say anything, you go to the kicking column, I guess. So this 58 set will be quite a bit different than, the 81 set I have, which is cool. James Parker is a 5 offensive tackle and a 3 defensive tackle. So I'm interested to see if he started on both sides of the ball. I mean, with him being a 3, I'm assuming he did. Bill Pellington, a 4 outside linebacker and a 1 fullback. So I guess he got a little bit of playing as a fullback. So a lot of guys who have played this a lot, they'll look at it and say, "Oh, he's got 3 2s and 6 9s." So again, I'm really new to the APBA. I've been playing APBA baseball for not even a year yet, and enjoyed it. I played a game yesterday with a 76 set that I had got a little bit back, and so the Reds beat the Astros on opening day in 1976, 3-2. Joe Morgan had a 2-run double in the 8th. It was J.R. Richard versus Gary Nolan, so it was a fun game. But again, football just had it about a week or two. It may be longer than that. Time goes so fast. So anyway, it'll be real fun, exciting to dig these guys out and play some games. And he's just, really loves second season, but there's something about having cards in hand. So there's Johnny Unitas. I wonder if he was the, let's see, so they said Jim Brown was the MVP in 58. The Rookie of the Year was Jimmy Orr. Passing leader, Billy Wade. Rushing leader, of course, was Brown. The receiving leader was Del Schaffner. So I'm not for sure who he played with, but obviously Johnny Unitas is one I'm familiar with. So let's take a look at, again, so that's one thing I love about APBA. All you got to do is, let's see, we got Baltimore. Hope they sent me the right cards. Hey, there we go. I guess they divvied them up by east and west, looks like. So just get them out, and not nearly as many cards in this one. I think 58, that was one reason why it was only $50, is because they didn't card a lot, as many as they did in 57 and 59. So I don't think that there's a few players not carded. So, but I don't think that will affect my play any. All right, so let's find Cleveland. So see, that's Chicago B. I guess that's Chicago Bears. Yeah, there was 2 Chicago teams in 58. So that's the Chicago Bears. And this is the Chicago Cardinals, I'm assuming, because they was in Chicago in '58. There's our man. Look at him here in a second. So again, the Browns were 9-3 with the Giants, but they got beat by the Giants in a playoff. So I guess when they tied back then, they had a playoff to see who would move on to the NFL championship. So I'll probably, because of Mr. Brown, I probably will play mostly with Cleveland. So Jim Brown, a 5 at fullback. So again, a lot of guys can look at these cards and, he's got 2 2s and 6 6s and, a 4 in the 32 column. And so I'm not to that level. But again, I imagine with him having double the rushing yards of anybody else in the league, he should be a lot of fun to watch play. I know that the 57, his rookie year, again, what I play in that, I played some of that with second season. He had a decent year, but he wasn't Jim Brown until 58, and then that was when he really became Jim Brown. So that'll be fun. Lou Carpenter, I remember him from 57. Preston Carpenter, so he was a wide receiver, and he was more of a running back. I don't know if they're related or not, Preston and Lou. So I'm trying to remember who the quarterback was. I remember Colo. Yep, he had a good rating with second season as well. He's a 5 at tackle and end, so defensive lineman. Vince Costello. Who else we got here? Fiss, 4 outside linebacker. Lou Groza, who was a 3 offensive tackle, and their kicker. Again, they don't have the designation, so I'm assuming, again, if there's nothing there, that you use the K column. I remember Kantz, 4 safety, and also their main punt returner. Mike McCormick, 5 offensive tackle, a 3 middle linebacker. Walt Michaels, a 5 outside linebacker. So I got a lot of good 5s here. And Kautsky, I think he's a backup quarterback. Chuck Knoll, we know him from his coaching. So he's a 3 offensive guard and a 3 linebacker. Don Paul, a 4 cornerback. Yeah, Milt Plum, he was the quarterback, I believe. He's just a 3. But again, looks like Mr. Brown got most of the work. Ray Renfro, 4 with a B and a /A. You don't see that too often. Usually it's A or B. A short, B long. So he's a 4 long. I think back in the 50s, early 60s, that when they did pass, they tend to go long more. Jim Ray Smith, he's a 5 guard on offense, a 3 defensive end. So there you got the Browns. Let's see who else. The New York Giants they were the ones, and the Bears were 8-4. Rams were 8-4. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams within 1 game of first place. So should be good stuff. Look at the Giants real quick, because again, I remember I played that 1 game that's on the channel. At least most of it's on the channel. So again, Green Bay was 110-1, so they were not very good. There's New York. Take a look at them, see what they got. So Green Bay Packers were not very good. See, the Eagles were 2-9-1. They were not very good either. I'm going to see how many's carded per team. I'm assuming it's the same. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. So 33 Giants. I don't know if that's what everybody is. Again, like the 1981, there's 50 per team. They almost don't fit in the envelopes. But again, this one, the 57 set was, I think, 59 or 60 because they had more cards. So the 58 set, for whatever reason, they just don't have as many people carded. But again, that's not going to bother me any. So see what the Giants got. Rosie Brown, he was a 5 offensive tackle. And remember, he had a really good rating on a second season. Connerly, 3 quarterback. Lyndon Crow, 4 at cornerback. Frank Gifford, a 5 halfback, and a 5 as a wide receiver, a 2 as a quarterback, and a 3 as a cornerback. So Frank Gifford, the big old 5 there. Again, we got Rosie Greer. Remember him with a 5. Don Heinrich, backup quarterback. We got Sam Huff with a 5 at middle linebacker. That's enjoyable looking through the cards. Again, that's one advantage you have to, ATBA, is because they card everybody. Everybody has a card, and again, you can argue about the necessity of that and how it affects the price, but, I kind of see both sides of that story, but I enjoy looking through the cards and having them, being a cards and dice guy as I am. It does make it a little cost prohibitive to get too many seasons, but it is what it is. Mod Zalewski, 4 defensive tackle. Jim Patton, 5 safety and a 3 halfback. Andy Robustelli, that sounds right, a 5 defensive end. So again, some good teams. Jack Stroud, a 4 guard. Pat Summerall, remember him? He was love his this week in the NFL. He did. Plus, he was an announcer for a long time. Remember Triplett. Emlyn Tunnell. Probably Tunnell with 2 ends, I would assume. A 4 strong safety. Ray Witecha, 5 center. So there you got it. So those were the big names. I don't think Sayers came along till later. Look and see who Los Angeles had. They were 8 and 4. I'm sure they've got some names, and then we'll go to. I won't. I'm dragging this on a little bit longer. So again, I'm kind of savoring it because this is probably going to be the last one I get, especially with anything this expensive. There's Los Angeles. Wonder why they're in the back behind Washington. That's weird. See if they got Arnett's a 5. I don't remember ever hearing of him, but he must have been very good. Blade Burrows is a 4. Again, I don't know a lot about this time in football, so it'll be fun to do some learning. Lou Michaels is a 4 defensive end and tackle. Ken Panfill is a 4. Red Phillips is a 4 tight end and 4 wide out. Dwayne Putnam is a 5 at guard. Will Sherman, 4 safety. Del Hoffner, 4 EB. Bill Wade, a 4 quarterback. So there you have it. That's the 58 set. So let me pause it here a second, and then we'll get this out of the way and dig into the 65 just a little bit. Okay, so again, I got 1965. I wanted a season that had just pure AFL in it, where they weren't combined. I wanted one that wasn't too early, because the consensus by most people is that early on, the early 60s, of course the league started in 1960, that the caliber wasn't quite what the NFL was, and then gradually as they, got through the 60s, that they got better. And of course, everybody knows in 1968, the 68 season, the Jets won the first Super Bowl for the AFL. And then I think in 69, before the last year before the merger, which would be a nice set to have. But I do have 69 in second season, that the Chiefs won, I believe, in 69. So the last 2 years, the AFL and the NFL were separate. The AFL was able to win the Super Bowl. So by the late 60s, and then I'm pretty sure that once 70 came along, that they that they were pretty much on par with the NFL when they merged in 70. But at any rate, I wanted a season that had where they were separate, and so I went with 65. Not for sure why. I think 65 was the last year they didn't have a Super Bowl. The 66 season was the first year they had the Super Bowl, so I thought that might be fun to do a Super Bowl, with the 65, which again the last year that they didn't have one. So let's look at our football reference here. So 65, the Cleveland Browns were 11-3, and the Cowboys, who were a new team, came in at 7-7 in the NFL East. In the West, we had the Green Bay Packers at 10-3-1, the Colts at 10-3-1, the Bears at 9-7. So those were the big names. So again, the Packers, that's when they had come into their own. And then in the AFL, the Bills were 10-3, the Jets were 5-8-1, so they kind of ran away with the East. In the West, the Chargers were 9-2-3. The Raiders came in at 8-5-1. The Kansas City Chiefs came in at 7-5-2. So looks like the Bills were going to be no-brainers in the East, looks like, as they were about 5 games ahead of the second-place Jets. But in the West, looks like the Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers all had pretty good teams, so that would be interesting to see. So again, this was Jim Brown's last year, so we know, and he had a very good year. Let me look at the leaders and see who else we got. So this is the AFL. So we had Len Dawson for Kansas City. I believe he's a Hall of Famer. Let's see, receptions. You had Lionel Taylor for Denver, had 85. So again, the 60 season should be pretty fun. Or 65. I mean, a 60 season. And so again, I just went with 65. I really would like 68, but again, it was 122. So with me getting the 2 seasons, I kind of thought, I could pick up 2 and save a little money. That 68 Jets team would certainly be fun. I'm trying to look at rushing yards. There we go. So Paul Lowe for San Diego had 11-21. Cookie Gilchrist for Denver had 954. So there was only 1,000-yard rusher for the AFL. Let's look and see what the NFL has. I think maybe Gale Sayers was playing here. So Jim Brown was the rushing leader at 1544, and once again he was about double the next guy. Gale Sayers for Chicago had 867. Tim Brown for Philadelphia 86. So again, at the end of his career, he still doubled everybody else. And then I think, like I said, the Browns had the best record in the NFL. Let's look at this. Here they were 11-3, whereas the Colts and the Packers were 10-3-1. So in the playoff situation, looks like because the Packers and the Colts tied, they played, and the Packers won that 13-10, and then the Packers beat the Browns 23-12. And in the AFL, the Bills beat the Chargers 23-0. So it might be fun to do a Bills Packers game again if they started the the Super Bowl a year early. So obviously you can see there's a few more cards in this with the AFL. So let's see what we got here. So looks like they start with the NFL. This is Cleveland. Beautiful set of cards there. They look lovely. I could imagine if I had history with that, but how much more in love I would be. So let's look at Brown, of course. Jim Brown, another 5. Last year, man, that's way to end. So kind of like Barry Sanders, he went out on top. I'm not for sure if he quit because he was injured or he just got tired or what it was. But he again, I mean, second season and then his last season. I don't know if it was like that every year, but pretty much doubled the next guy in rushing yards. So anyway, Browns would be a fun one to do in this. Doing the AFL, because there's only 8 teams, you could that would be a low-hanging fruit to do, every game replay with the 65 AFL with just the 8 teams. But again, some options. So anyway, looks like we're at half an hour on this, so that's a long time for a boxing. So those of you who have hung around this long, I appreciate it. I always enjoy watching other people live vicariously through their openings. And again, this is going to be the last one for a while. We're the end of November of 2022, so I'm hoping to be able to, I haven't heard what Strat Baseball is coming out with. The last few years, they have either reprinted or created a new season or two, or reprinted rather, a new season or two. So I'm going to try to pick that up. I do stay, again, Strat Baseball is my game, so I'm going to try to pick that up. But other than that, again, due to some circumstances, I'm going to have to put the brakes on and, play more and have to buy less. But that's fine because I have got a nice collection. And I've said in previous videos, I envy these guys who play every game. I was watching Atba Football Club interview. I forget the man's name, but he was doing the 1981 every game replay. And, that's kind of where I want to get. So I've done some experimenting. I've picked up some great games, and now it's time to do some serious playing. And so that's, again, don't have an option. But that's okay. Again, I've got more than a lot of people have. Very thankful for it, as it's the day after Thanksgiving. And I will definitely enjoy these very much. And there's something to be said for being content with what you have. I find it's really interesting. I don't know if you guys experience this or not, but when I have something else coming, it really distracts from what I have. And when I don't have something coming, I find that I really get into it more. And I don't know if that's a phenomenon that other gamers notice, but when you constantly keep buying, it distracts you, and there's nothing wrong with that if you have that ability, and it's been a wonderful journey. I'm thankful that I've been able to do it. Again, picked up a lot of good games that I have, had never tried, that I've heard about, And but I feel like I've got app of baseball, I got app of football, of course Strat baseball, football, and hockey. Got a few seasons in all of those. Payoff pitch baseball, got a few games, a few seasons. I have a couple inside pitch baseball. I've got inside the crease. I got a couple hockey games in that. Trying to think. I got Glorious Days boxing. I'm sure I'm missing some. Second season football. Replay basketball, my favorite basketball game. I do have a Stratomatic basketball game from the late 80s that I haven't played since I bought it. Back in the day, I played a Portland Trailblazers replay with that season and enjoyed it very much. So, I have that. And so with me cutting off the spigot, I might spend some time with that, get to know it. I got ASG Golf, History Maker Golf, which both of those games are great. Action PC Golf. I have Action PC Football and Action PC Baseball. But again, PC games are wonderful. But I just something about cards and dice. So if I've got a PC game that replicates that, like Replay Baseball, I definitely will use the computer. I'm not, against that keeping stats, things like that. But if it's not tied to a cards and dice game where I can actually put the cards on the table with me, I just doesn't float my boat. And again, that's just me. Nothing wrong with it. Those games are wonderful, but that's just kind of where I'm at. So I will definitely be spending some time with, with these games that I've picked up, and we'll try to get some games on the channel, some updates, things like that. But this will be the last unboxing, probably until, whatever Strat comes out with in February. I would definitely, if I'm able to, we'll try to pick those up because Strat Baseball is my main game, but enjoying APBA football immensely. So anyway, if you've been here to the end, thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy whatever you're playing, as Baseball Demo says, and I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you next time.